All right, admins, how we doing out there? I hope everybody had a happy Easter. I've got a few things to go over. Hopefully, I won't be too long, but they're all pretty important, so please watch until the end. Um, First thing I want to cover is the membership workshop that will be hosted by the Linton Lodge this coming Saturday, April 23rd. They had one up north in Peru Lodge this past weekend, and it was fairly successful. Again, this is available to any member. We would like some lodge officers to be there, of course, but any member can join this event. It is free. There is a meal being put on. The Indiana Moose Association has been nice enough to pay for that meal, so you won't be charged for a meal when you're there. It's going to start at 10 a.m. and it should wrap up probably before 2 o'clock. We'll take a lunch break, but it will most likely be done before 2. Again, it's going to be a workshop on what members are looking for, what lodges can do to entice new members, keep current members coming back. So it's worth attending that workshop. I do ask, though, when we're sharing this information and sharing it with officers and whatnot, that if they can email me to let me know they're coming, simply because it's going to help with the head count for the meals. But again, if it's the last minute and they decide they want to come, that's perfectly fine. They don't have to email me, but it sure would help when it comes to food preparation. Um, the next thing I need to talk about is there was a fairly important email that came out from Moose International last week on the 12th, and I do want to make sure we're reviewing those emails from Moose International and we're sharing those with our board, because there's a few things in there that are very, very important. And one of them being social media. As we know, Moose International in the past has kind of stayed hands off when it comes to social media. We've had a few issues in the past, and then they kind of deem, well, if Bob Smith is doing something on his personal Facebook page or, Twitter, wherever it might be, they're not getting involved because it's kind of outside the parameters of what the organization, what we can do, what we're in charge of. It didn't happen in a lodge. It didn't happen at an event or on our property. So they kind of have backed off on that. But they have made a stance recently on when it comes to elections on Facebook and what the lodge, the chapter, Moose Legion, district Facebook page, what they may be posting when it comes to elections. And they're basically saying, please don't post anything when it comes to elections. Originally, we felt like it wasn't a big deal if a lodge was posting the dates and the times of elections, because that's just being informational. They're not being partial at all. But then we had some lodges that went out and in those posts they tagged who the officers were. So some people were tagged, some people weren't. So it looked like we were giving them preference over the other people running for office. Also, there were posts of someone getting on there and saying, who in the world would vote for Bob Smith? Bob Smith's an idiot. So we didn't think about those what if things. And unfortunately, we can't do anything about it, someone's personal page, but we don't want to give the members or non-members the chance to voice in negatively about an election. So again, no posting. And I know most of us are now through the election and have done most of that processes. But this is just for future reference, especially if you have a special election or something like that. And hopefully we'll remember this next year, and I'll reiterate this again next year so nobody does it by accident next year. Another important thing is last week I sent out an email that came out about lodge leadership classes. There are a few lodge leadership classes being available, one in Crawfordsville and one up in Hobart. One a little bit further out, date-wise, in Scott County, which is Scottsburg, Indiana. Remember, from the time of May 1st, they have 60 days to get the lodge leadership training completed if they've never taken it before. If they have taken it before, they have to get it once every 3 years, so they need to make sure they're up to date on their training. If they've never been trained before or never taken the class, I always say taking the class in person is very good the first time, because it's a chance for them to ask questions and be more involved, and they learn a lot more going through that class. If it's just they've been through the class before and just need to recertify, online is perfectly fine. There are some questions about the Scott County class because it is a little bit later. It's outside that 60-day window. Moose International is going to be very serious about officers who are not trained being removed from offices if they're not willing to take that training. Main reason being, we have too many officers that don't understand what their job titles entail. They think they're in charge of the lodge for things they're not. They're doing things that aren't policy to start with, and they're just kind of doing things wrong. So they need to make sure they know what their job requirements are and what the board is supposed to do, and where their limitations are and where their powers are, because that just creates a lot of headache. And then if you talk to somebody and you find out they've never been trained well, they've never been trained, so they don't know. So if they went through that class, I could say, hey, you went through this class and here you are doing this when you should know that you shouldn't be doing this. Anyways, just makes it a whole lot easier. But with that class in Scott County being a little bit later, Scott County's in the southern part of the state. If somebody thinks that they're going to that class, and I come in and see that it's early July or something like that, and they haven't been through the class yet, and I contact them and they say they're going to that class, that's fine. I'll give them to that date. But if they don't go to that class, then they will be removed. But again, that's way in the southern part of the state, so people up north, you can't really use that as an excuse. You have 60 days to get that training taken care of. Also, in that email that went out last week, it talks about the Lodge Safety Inspection Form. That form is available now in LCL Web starting today. I talked about it once, but I'll go over it again. They lengthened the deadline for when it has to be done. It's usually May 15th. They went to May 30th this year, but that doesn't mean you have to wait till the very last minute. Let's get it done. First of all, that's an important form just to do some lodge inspections and make sure some things are being done. Two things with that. You want to make sure that you're not filling it out online from memory, or trying to see what the next section is, then going to that part of the lodge to check it and then come back, because it will time you out after like an hour or an hour and a half. So I suggest going to that form, printing it up, completing it, then coming back and filling out everything when you have time. That way you don't get locked out and have done all that for nothing. Also, that's not just for the administrator to do. Let your trustees have those forms and let them go do that work. There's some information on there when it comes to insurances and things like that. You'll have to get that, but they can go and check for the slip, trips, and falls, and check the fire extinguishers and the entrances to the buildings and the emergency lights. They can do that kind of stuff. So there's no sense in why it should all be just the administrator doing that job. And the important thing about it being done on time is that you will get a bit of a break on your risk pool insurance, but if it is late, you get a 10% modifier, which means it goes up 10%. That's from the insurance company saying, hey, you didn't turn this form in on time, you haven't done your due diligence, and that's the one punishment you're going to get is getting a 10% increase on a risk pool. So please make sure that's done, and I would say the quicker the better, because come the 1st of May, I'm going to start probably harping on all my lodges when you see me, has this been done yet? And it probably won't be long before we start doing our annual lodge survey that we do also. So that's it. I actually kept it at 9 minutes, so that's not too bad. If you guys have any questions, just give me a holler. You know how to get a hold of me. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.